Good morning, folks. We're on. Took us a while, but we're there. And Jannik Sinner and Tomas Machac for the semi-final in Shanghai at the ATP Masters 1000 is just about to get underway. Sinner to get us started from the far end. And he'll dump his first serve at the net, but we're underway with a Tomas Machac forehand winner down the line. That's a shot we've seen time and time again this week, isn't it? That's the shot. That's the standout shot that Tomas Machac has in his locker. It's been some shot this week and all year as he's continued to climb up the rankings, now at a world ranking of number 33. It's the highest he's been this year and in fact in his career. And Jannik Sinner also had a career high at number 1 in the world. And we've learned that after the win a couple of days ago, he's confirmed his year-end world number 1 spot, of course, with Alcaraz losing yesterday to Machac. So it is Sinner to finish the year as world number 1. What an achievement for him, huh? Really impressive. His consistency this year has been faultless with everything going on off court as well. It's testament to his mindset and how well he's been able to handle everything going on. So Sinner having a solid start here, 30-15 up so far. So good for the Italian. Goes into the body of Machac. Machac with the forehand return into the cross court. Backhand of Sinner, forehand of Machac. Forehand of Machac once again, getting Sinner off court and too tough for Sinner out wide on his forehand. So tied up at 30 all now. Both players 23 years of age, so still pretty young in their careers, you know. I mean, yeah, 23 is not old. They could have, based on the ages that we see retiring now, with Gasquet just yesterday coming out, and he'll be 39 when he retires. These guys could have another 15 or so years left in their careers. So it's crazy how long these players are going for now. Sinner opening up the forehand side. He'll be looking to go into the backhand of Machac for sure. I mean, just to neutralize that weapon of the Czech. But that's not to say his backhand is a weakness. Mahac's backhand, he takes it early, he hits it flat. It's actually difficult to look to dominate on the backhand side of Machac too. You've got to find him on the edges of each court. You can't have him in the middle of the court dominating with his forehand or backhand. So Sinner's going to have to use his angles well today and get Machac off the court, get him moving. Sinner already having to face a break point early on in this semi-final. And he'll have to do it with a second serve now. And there we go. It's a perfect start for the Czech, world number 33, who's having the tournament of his career so far. Jannik Sinner with work to do. Just having a look at some stats with the graphic in the quarterfinal, of course, against Alcaraz, where he took out the world number 2. Mahac's forehand placement. Pretty equal in terms of where he's going on the outsides of the court. Only 6% of his forehand shots going down the middle. So along with that power comes precise placement as well. He's not only got that power, he's also got the ability to be able to move his opponents around with it. So that's an added difficulty for Sinner to be able to try and neutralize that shot. There's Tomas Mahac's coach, Watchalong, who's clearly doing a great job with his player. So Machac, love 15 down on the serve into the forehand of Sinner, but it goes deep. Just lifted that one long. Machac, of course, in his rather short shorts once again. He's become pretty well known for that so far this year. He's had a few funny interviews where he's explained sort of the reasoning for it. Just taking it back a few years, to the likes of McEnroe and Borg. I'm sure they're delighted to see it come back into fashion as Jannik Sinner just goes deep, slightly mistiming that backhand. So you can see he's a little bit rattled with how maybe the incoming force of Machac. I think it's a surprise to most players with how hard Machac is hitting the ball. Some of these forehand speeds that are coming through the court are ridiculous, up to 150 kilometers an hour. And Sinner not quite finding his range just yet. Machac coming into this match is sort of flying already. 30-15 up. Goes T into the forehand of Sinner. Machac again on the forehand, but goes too much with that one, so it flies long. But I think Machac has just put his hand up to signal a challenge to the umpire. So he has, and it's called good. So I believe that will be a Machac point because Sinner missed that backhand slice in defense. So yes, it will be, and Machac will go 40-15 up into the backhand. Machac goes. And there he's looking to continue to dominate with the forehand, running around his backhand, which I believe is the correct tactic. I don't think he needs to because the backhand is such a solid shot, but I think if he's going to get that extra oomph from his side of the court, the forehand's the one that's going to be able to do that. So another point for a 2-love lead in this first set for Tomas Machac in the form of his life, taking on the world number one. And there it is. A decently hit first serve down the center of the court, and Sinner with a miss hit, a couple of miss hits from Sinner, who's not quite timing the ball as much as he would have liked coming into this first set, but Machac off to a flying start. He leads by 2-0, and Sinner will come up to the baseline to try and get his semi-final underway with a point on the scoreboard. So I'm a couple of games behind, which is a bit of a shocker. So give me a moment, and I'll be back in just a few seconds with the up-to-date score. But as you can see on the scoreboard on the screen, it's 3-2 to Sinner. It's just about to be. So bear with me for 1 minute. Okay, we are back, guys. Thanks for that. Apologies for the confusion with that, but we're back. Sinner is up 3 games to 2. He's recovered the early break from Machac, and yeah, he's back in the lead, somewhere where he's used to being this year, isn't he? He's used to being in the lead. Yes, he might have had a few strong comebacks in the likes of the Australian Open final to Medvedev when he was 2 sets to love down and came back to win it. But most of the time, he's been in the lead this year, and he's finished off matches pretty comfortably. So it will be fascinating to see how this match continues to flow. I mean, Roger Federer is watching on. There he is, just like the Men in Black with his black sunglasses and black suit. He's such a cool guy, isn't he, Roger? I'm sure he would have had some conversations with Rafa in the last couple of days. Of course, coming with that news of the Rafael Nadal retirement, a shock to the tennis world, but at the same time, we sort of knew the news was coming as Machac serving love 15 2-3. So some bit of scoreboard pressure for Sinner now being put on to Machac. So far this week, Machac has dealt with that superbly. He was neck and neck with Alcaraz throughout that first set in the quarterfinal, and Machac was able to take it to a tiebreak and then clinch that tiebreak. So he's able to go toe to toe and then top the best in the world. The second serve ace there to tie up this game at 15-all. A huge crowd eruption as Roger Federer came on the big screen just then. Great to have him in Shanghai watching on. Forehand of Machac, great return from Sinner. Sinner into the Machac backhand, trying to pin him deep, to keep him back in the court, doesn't want to let him dominate. Now we're into the forehand exchanges, but I think Sinner's just stopped and will challenge that ball that was hit by Machac and seemed to skid off the baseline, but I think Sinner has stopped play, thinking that one was out, and it was indeed confirmed by Hawkeye. So good thinking from Jannik Sinner. Has given him the lead in this game, 15-30 on the Machac serve. Machac will go wide into the backhand of Sinner, but it will go deep, so he'll line up for a second serve. Mohamed Laani in the chair, having a bit to do early doors in this match. A couple of challenges here and there. Another one now with this serve, but it is deep, so Machac will have to hit a second. Which he does, and returned well by Sinner. And now we're into an exchange from the baseline, but Machac goes too big, and it goes way wide and way long. What a club player would call a back fence shot. And it's gifted a couple of break points for Jannik Sinner, his first of the match. And without too many seconds gone by, Machac is already up to the baseline, ready to serve for his first serve, but misses. So a second serve will be faced for Jannik Sinner. But it's a good body serve from Tomas Machac. Just gets Jannik Sinner clumped up there. And it's shanked wide. So another break point coming for Jannik Sinner. It's a brilliant serve. He doesn't hold back, does he? Straight down the tee, unreturnable. He's got almost no fear, this guy. Just continues to play with his own rhythm. He plays with quick speed in quick succession every point. And we're back at juice all of a sudden. And again, great serving down the tee. Another missed return from Sinner. He'll be disappointed with that because he did get 2 hands on his racket, got string to ball, but wasn't able to clear the net. Great serving from Machac. First serve after first serve, and He ties things up here in this first set. So impressive from Tomas Machac. As I say, he just doesn't hold back, as much as he'll be aware of the scoreline, of course he will. It's almost as like he doesn't have a care in the world of what the score is. And that's such a good way to play tennis because you stick to your own game when you think like that. And it means the score doesn't affect how you play too much. Okay, yes, he might go a little bit safer on the bigger points, but more crowd noise here. I think it's because of Federer. So both players are just having a little bit of a giggle. I think the Chinese fans are just getting a bit overwrought with the fact that Roger Federer is courtside watching on. Anyway, back to business for both players. 3 games all in this first set, so with a missed first serve out wide. And he'll go up the tee with the second, and we're into the exchange. So Mahatch goes big down the line, and it's too good. Jannik Sinner on the stretch. Every time Federer comes on the big screen, the crowd erupts. But Mahat's trying to stay focused here with his short shorts up as high as ever. Wide from the serve from Sinner, opens up the court nicely. He goes into the space, into the forehand of Machac. Machac goes big on the forehand run, but misses wide. That was too much, too big from Machac on this occasion. So 15 all. And Sinner back to his very concentrated manner now. He's a player that is looks to be so stable. That's how he describes himself, as very level-headed throughout each point and each game and each match. He tries to stay the same, something that is quite similar to the man watching on in Roger Federer. Sinner actually described himself a little bit like ice, and his fiercest rival and good mate, Carlos Alcaraz, is fire. It's like fire and ice when those two go head to head, because Alcaraz has the flair. He's engaging the crowd. He's got those big shots. He's got the hot shots, whereas Jannik Sinner is maybe a little bit more, I wouldn't say dialed in, but more level across the whole match. And he's someone that doesn't hit too many hot shots or things like this, but of course he'll hit the odd unbelievable shot, but he won't necessarily be doing it to involve the crowd. He'll be doing it because it's necessary and it's what he needs to win the point. So interesting to hear him describe himself and Alcaraz like that. But that was a beautiful volley. It came in quick from Tomas Mahac's forehand, as it usually does, but he deflects it well into the open court. So 30 all now. That's a beautiful ace down the tee, hitting his spots well when it matters right now. Both players. Again, it can be tough when you've had chances to break in the previous game. It can be tough to then stay concentrated and look after your own serve, but he's doing it well, is Jannik Sinner, the world number 1. Going down the tee, but the forehand Machac comes back with interest, and it's a little bit too quick for Jannik Sinner. He looked a little bit rushed on that backhand. He didn't retreat as much as maybe he should have done. Took it very, very early indeed, but just got caught a little bit off guard on that one, I think. So tied up at deuce. Sinner going wide. His coaching team watching on, still looking calm as ever, those guys. Of course, the couple of them, the trainer and physio, ex-Novak Djokovic team, so they know a little bit about Shanghai semi-finals, don't they? What a point. Sinner with a bit of a screamer to finish off the point. Backhand angle, too good for Machac. No chance of the Czech retrieving that one. A little bit of a cat and mouse rally. Machac coming into the net as he sometimes does, has really good reflexes up at the net, has court coverage is a bit of a joke from the world number 33, but beautifully dismissed by Jannik Sinner, and it gets him that game point. Sinner going big into the backhand of Machac, opens it up nicely, but dispatched by Tomas Machac. His court coverage, as I was just saying, is second to none. He was over from that backhand return into the forehand to try and pass Sinner in a flash. And the fact he was still able to time it so well and find literally a meter in from the corner of the court, from both the baseline and the sideline, it's the perfectly placed pass. And we're back level at deuce in this game. Just long on the first serve from Sinner. Ace. Beautifully done from Jannik Sinner. Calming the storm from Tomas Machac is Sinner. Something that I'm not surprised Jannik Sinner is able to do, given the fact that he is so calm on court. His demeanor is just time and time again so level-headed, and he's unfazed by a lot of things, Jannik Sinner. And I'm pretty sure Tomas Machac will fall into that category. I think Jannik Sinner will be able to come through this one eventually. It's just a matter of time. But how long will Tomas Machac be able to keep up his unbelievable form from this week? Credit to Tennis Viz, the insights that we've been getting. It's been quality. I was reading an article this morning just on the shot quality of Tomas Mahac's forehand. It's been outrageous. I'm just getting it up now. So according to Tennis Viz and Tennis Data Innovations, Mahac's forehand shot quality is 9.1 this week. That's out of a rating of 10. His average for the tour this season has been 7.4. So his forehand at 7.4 is still an unbelievably good shot, but now it's up at 9.1. That's ridiculous. That's a joke. The tour average for this year is 7.5. So the fact that he's up at 9.1 this week shows just how effective that forehand is being struck. So he'll be looking to get that into action into this game. As he gets into the net very, very nicely indeed and gets himself up 15 love early on in this game. He's sticking to the world number one, just as he did the world number two yesterday against Carlos Alcaraz, of course, winning in straight 7-6, 7-5 against the world number two, Carlos Alcaraz, yesterday. The biggest win of his career, probably, after the win over Novak Djokovic in Geneva on the clay. So for sure, his biggest win on a hard court. No doubt about that for Tomas Machac. But it is crazy how he's only at a ranking of 33. Alcaraz described it feeling like he was playing not only a top 10 player, but a top 5 player for sure. Alcaraz said it was as if he didn't know what to do. What can you do against someone who's hitting a shot quality on the forehand side of 9.1, who's just seeing it like a beach ball and there was nothing Alcaraz could do to sort of stop the storm. Tried to absorb the forehand, did Alcaraz, but wasn't able to find a way to get past the Czech yesterday. And it wasn't as if it was like a sort of the US Open defeat for Alcaraz against Botic van der Sandschop. In that match, you didn't feel like Alcaraz was fully there mentally. You felt like he was still a bit overwrought, just still a bit tired from the Olympics, from Cincinnati. I think there was still some jet lag for Carlos Alcaraz in that. But in the loss to Thomas Machac yesterday, he looked fine, Alcaraz. He was playing really, really well. It was nothing to do with Alcaraz's form, to be completely honest. It was all Machac. So testament to the performance of the Czech world number 33. He was just sublime. And he's doing very, very well indeed to keep up this form against the world number one. As he just hits a winner nice and early there into the forehand side of Jannik Sinner. Sinner guessing the wrong way. The average topspin forehand speed for Machac, 116 kilometers an hour. As Machac goes down the tee, but goes deep. So both will get ready for a second attempt at this one in this point. 40-30 Machac, 3-4 down in this first set. Sinner getting onto the backhand return nicely. Now they're into the exchange. Sinner looking to try and dominate with the forehand, but goes into the forehand of Machac. So now it's Machac who's got the upper hand, and Machac slides into that forehand, but misses into the net. So good court coverage from Sinner, and did well to regain the lead in that rally after maybe giving Machac a little bit of an inch when he didn't need to. And that's the thing with Mahac's forehand. It's able to get him out of scenarios in a rally where he's so far down, so under the cosh, but with one shot, he's able to turn from defense into attack so well. That's the danger he possesses. Back tied at deuce then, a second serve to be hit for Tomas Machac. Sinner stands deep and hits the backhand. Now he's come up to the baseline a little bit more now, but he's given a little bit of caught up to Machac as he gets into the net, but Jannik Sinner goes wide with the backhand pass. He was really in a tough position there, so far back on the backhand side. Machac did well to take away the time from Jannik Sinner. And he's got a game point of his own. Wide from Machac, going into the backhand of Jannik Sinner, and now into another backhand exchange. But now Sinner changes it up and goes into the forehand of Machac. But that seems silly because Machac just opens up and hits one of his unbelievably powerful shots down the line into the backhand of Sinner and puts away a pretty simple forehand mid-court ball. And we're tied at 4-all in this first set, and it's neck and neck. Machac leaps up into the air for that one. He's doing it time and time again against Alcaraz, and I don't think he missed one. And it was interesting because some people would look at that and be like, why are you showboating? You're playing against the world number one. You're the one who should be sort of doing the basics well here. You're not the one that should be showboating. But I don't think it is showboating. I think, honestly, he's looking to take that ball as early as he can. And by sort of leaping up into there, he's able to take it right at the top of the ball's bounce, and therefore taking yet more time away from Sinner. It's so impressive. And he's getting so good at that jumping forehand. It's almost like We've seen Monfils do it in the past, sort of elevating himself up into the air, leaping up and hitting the most powerful of forehands you can imagine. So 30 love, Jannik Sinner, doing well to look after his service games after going down an early break in this set, has recovered well. Another first serve to come for Jannik Sinner. Machac, a couple of meters behind the baseline, giving himself a bit of time to return this one. That goes deep from Sinner, so he'll step up to the baseline a little bit more, will Machac, and try and take this return a little bit earlier. Into the backhand goes Sinner. Now we're into a backhand exchange, but Machac just snatching at that one, going a bit too big early on in that rally, and misses, not by far, but a little bit deep on that occasion from the Czech. Unforced error is now at 10 for Machac, only 3 for Sinner, so potentially Machac is playing to the very top of his level, and with that comes a few unforced errors, whereas Sinner potentially playing a little more to his level, his average. He's at a good threshold right now, we would say. So positive signs for Jannik Sinner as he puts away a nice little backhand down the line. He's up by 5 games to 4. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I think there was some connectivity issues, but we are back. And Jannik Sinner has potentially a half chance to clinch this first set. Tied up at 30-all on the Machac serve. Who can be the one to put their foothold on this match and take the first set into their own hands? So a second serve for Sinner to have a look at. Machac going too big on the forehand, potentially playing prisoner just a little bit too much, because he's starting to try and hit out that forehand just a little bit too much, even for Machac. And now a couple of times he's not been able to find the court. So set points for Jannik Sinner, the world number one. Machac is coming into the net. He's got a chance, but pushes the backhand volley long. And it's first blood, Jannik Sinner. He takes the first set by 6-4. Yeah, really solid first set from Jannik Sinner. After going down an early break, not quite timing the ball early on was Sinner. He knuckled down and then really said to himself, right, let's stick in this one. Let's make a lot of balls. Let's see what Machac can do. Let's make him continue to strike those forehands at a quality of 9.1. Can he continue to do that? And he wasn't able to. He started to miss the forehand a little bit too much, and Sinner able to capitalize. So just a quick look at the numbers now. Jannik Sinner taking care of things on the service side of things. 71% of first serves in, 75% of those points won. Again, not enough first serves in for Tomas Machac, 62% only. And when you're not quite seeing the forehand as well as you have been this week, that serve is vital to be able to make up some ground for the Czech. Because that forehand wasn't quite firing as well as it has been, the Machac serve needed to try and give him a base to get a few easier forehands, if we're honest. But it wasn't to be. Machac not quite playing up to the standard he has been this week, but credit to the world number one. He continues his extremely solid display of tennis. And I think that's what's been so impressive. You know, we know how much of a big game Jannik Sinner has. He completely smacks the hell out of the ball, if we're honest, from the baseline. You know, he doesn't hold back. He swings a lot. But I think what's been so impressive is that since he's gained the world number one ranking, he's been able to win matches off just being solid, not really playing as well as he can. He's probably been at maybe 60-70% of his best a lot of the time and has come away with pretty comfortable wins. And I think that's what's been so impressive about Jannik Sinner since rising to the very top of the game. But we're now back ready to get this second set underway. And if we just have a quick look at the road to the final, as Machac hits a lovely backhand down the line winner, getting Sinner on the run early doors in this second set. Sinner took out Tauro Daniel 6-1, 6-4 in the first round. He then took out Echeverry, a match that I actually commentated on the channel a little bit earlier on in the week. Lost the first set by 7-6, but then really, again, knuckled down. He wasn't playing that well with Sinner, but managed to clinch the second set 6-4, 6-2 and get through that one pretty comfortably in the end. Again, that was a match. Now, if I just think back, that Echeverry wasn't really a player like Machac. He wasn't sort of stepping inside the baseline and sort of smacking winners left, right, and center. He was more someone who was moving Sinner around a lot. He's Argentinian, Echeverry, so predominantly a baseline player. And again, I just don't think Sinner was really playing that well in the first set and gave Echeverry a lot of chances to dictate, and that's what he decided to do. So credit to the Argentine, but Sinner able to come through that one in 3 sets, and then it was a really emphatic performance in round 3 from Sinner, taking out Ben Shelton 6-4, 7-6. That was probably one of the best performances of the week. And alongside that, his quarterfinal match just yesterday against Daniil Medvedev, 6-1, 6-4. He's really understood the assignment against Medvedev the last few months, hasn't he, Jannik Sinner? Of course, he did lose that quarterfinal at Wimbledon to Medvedev, but since then has just completely toppled Medvedev every time he's come up against him on court in competition. So he's had to take out a few tough contests there, has Jannik Sinner. So he's having a really solid week, able to come through some really tough matches. And now that he's confirmed as the year-end world number 1, you must think that's got to give him lots of confidence going into the final few tournaments of the year. It's maybe giving him a free pass to say, hey, I'm now the best player in the world. I've guaranteed that for the rest of the year. Let's see what I can, do. I've got nothing to lose technically now. So I think it's only positive from Jannik Sinner going forward, as long as he can just remain on court and hopefully the ban doesn't get implemented with all the off-court stuff and the trial that I'm sure will ensue in the coming months. We don't know how long that's going to be. That's sort of up to WADA in terms of when they can get that going. But back to this match, back to the moment we are in Shanghai now at the ATP Masters 1000, and Jannik Sinner is looking to book his place in another Masters 1000s final in 2024. It's Sinner up against Tomas Machac, who's having the week of his life, taking out Carlos Alcaraz in the quarterfinals. And he's now trying to take out the world number 1 for a place in his first Masters 1000 final. But so far, so good for Sinner. A set to the good. And with a nice ace to give him a little game point early doors in this second set. Goes T with the first serve to Jannik Sinner, and it's just deep on the return. It wasn't a bad option for Tomas Machac going down the middle. Often an effective return when you try and return those first serves directly up the middle. It just gets you back on a level playing field when they've sort of smacked down that first serve. If you try and go a little bit closer to the lines, one, you'll either miss it because it's tough to control a first serve on the return, or you're giving them the angle to move into and you're giving them space to hit into is the second thing. So when you do return down the middle, you're just neutralizing the play a little bit more, making them try and create the angle and effectively getting yourself back into the point, because the first serve is such a key asset to have in the men's game. But it was just missed by Machac, and now he's serving at love 1 down in this second set. Again, a decent crowd here on centre court, stadium court they call it in Shanghai. Federer, one of those watching on closely by in one of the nicer seats up the front, but great to see him in Shanghai. There's Machac trying to dictate with the forehand a little bit more now, but continuing to miss. Just looks like he's forcing it a little bit too much. I think he knows how vital, everyone knows how vital the forehand is for Tomas Machac in his game. And I think as soon as it was starting to play up a little bit, he's now just forcing it a little bit too much. And it's either, just going long, just going deep, or just going wide, or just clipping the top of the net. There's just a few worrying signs on that forehand. So he just needs to try and find it again if he's going to have any chance of have taken out the world number one today. But my, oh my, the service games are really important for Tomas Machac. Needs to try and up the first serve percentage to help him get that forehand into play. That's much better from the Czech. Big first serve out wide and cutting off the angle nicely from the backhand of Sinner. Going into the space. That's just as I was saying. Sinner wasn't able to find the middle of the court really too well. So provided Tomas Machac with a nice bit of space to hit into on the forehand side. And it's an ace out wide to follow up from the world number 33, the man who's having the week of his life in Shanghai. And we're level at 1 game all. Jannik Sinner to serve. Goes in wide to the forehand of Machac. Machac hitting a really, really effective return. Again, up the middle, you can see he's looking for that a little bit more and has the opportunity to get on the front foot on the backhand. But again, just missing wide, I believe, it's honestly millimeters wide, confirmed by Hawkeye. It's really unlucky from Tomas Machac. He's not holding back despite the scoreline. He's continuing to try and implement his game, but a great serve out wide from Jannik Sinner, but he potentially misses an opportunity to go into the space down the line, opts to go cross court and actually gets Machac back into the point. And Sinner goes deep when he's pulled up higher into the court. So 50-0. Sinner not looking too phased still. He's looking calm. He's looking on it. He knows that he wants to get this done in straight sets. He wants to get ready for the final. Of course, Djokovic and Fritz to go head-to-head in the other semi-final in Shanghai. Good to see Taylor Fritz back in the business end of a tournament after a few weeks away and maybe not bringing as good a results as he's seen since the US Open. So good to see him back in a semi-final. And also Novak Djokovic. We've maybe not been as accustomed to seeing him in the latter stages of tournaments this year as much as we're used to. So good to see him having a solid end to the year. The big question is, what's the motivation now for Novak Djokovic? He's just said the other day that a part of him has left with Roger Federer, Andy Murray, and now Rafael Nadal. A part of him has left the tour with them because so much of his career has been fighting them, you know? That's what's been his motivation. As Jannik Sinner hits a really nice wide serve and Machac too far on the stretch, trying to go too big. And Sinner will go into the changeover at 2-1 up and a set to the good. But yes, that is the big question. What is next for Novak Djokovic? What is he chasing now? There's a few potential answers for that. He's currently tied with the most Grand Slams in any player's career. 24 Grand Slams, tied with Margaret Court. Of course, he's beaten Federer's 20 Grand Slams. He's beaten Nadal's 22 Grand Slams. It's now, can he be the highest achieving male or female Grand Slam champion? He just needs one more to overtake Margaret Court. They're currently tied at 24. So that could be one for Djokovic. It could be now sort of creating a legacy with his team, his Serbian team at the Davis Cup. I'm sure that's going to continue to be a priority for Djokovic. He loves representing his country. He has never forgotten his roots as the world the former world number one. He's sitting now, I think, around 7 in the world. I'm just going to confirm that. But he is he's currently in the race for Turin. He's looking good for that now. I think he's sitting at 7 in the race for the ATP World Tour Finals. So if he gets into that, no doubt he'll be a challenger for that, because he's performed so well on an indoor hard court. We know how often he's won those tour finals back when it was in the O2 Arena in London, of course, now in Turin. So eyes back on this semi-final then. Tomas Machac looking to try and keep up with Jannik Sinner. A set to the good is Sinner, but Machac shouldn't be ruled out. We know how well he's been playing this week. The world number 33. Of course, climbing the rankings, and after this week will, I think, must head into the top 30 in the world. He's not the tallest of players, Machac, but what he lacks in size, he gains in quad size. He's got some serious quads, and those, I think, help him around the court, because he's got such great court coverage, as I was saying a little bit earlier, especially up at the net. You know, he's not one of those players that is going to net rush, but when he has the opportunity to come to the net, he will. He's not afraid to take up that court up higher on this stadium court in Shanghai, and he's able to defend the net really, really well. And just there, he's coming into the net now with the forehand, and yeah, too strong for Jannik Sinner. All he can do is hit that ball into the crowd on the stretch. So 30-all now, but Tomas Machac misses the first serve wide. So a really big point now, 30-all. Sinner goes middle with the return into the backhand, and now Machac follows it up with a backhand approach into the backhand of Sinner, and the pass is missed into the net from Jannik Sinner. That's exactly what I mean. Machac is not afraid to back those really, really powerful ground strokes up into the net and try and polish off a volley. But on that occasion, doesn't have to hit a volley. And Machac will try and finish off this service game. But he's missed an opportunity to put Sinner away, and Sinner's somehow managed to stick himself out of that point. So Machac was almost on top of the net and opted to go big down the middle, almost directly back at Jannik Sinner. Often it's a good play to go down the middle, because players often guess which way, especially when you're facing the powerful forehands of Tomas Machac. But Sinner held his ground and flung out a racket, and somehow managed to make that ball, and dug himself out of such a big hole in that point. But Machac has forgotten about that one. He's now back on track. He hits a big first serve and a big smash far away from Sinner this time. And it's game point for Tomas Machac. Big serve out wide, and shanked return wide from Jannik Sinner. So a good hold for Tomas Machac. Gets himself out of a potentially sticky situation as the sun sets in Shanghai. Yeah, I believe still to come tonight is Novak Djokovic, Taylor Fritz, after this encounter between world number 1 and world number 33, Jannik Sinner and Tomas Machac. As Jannik Sinner just goes wide with that first serve. So yeah, Tomas Machac will have a little look at a second now. Into the backhand goes Sinner. And it's just edged wide by the Czech. 15 love, Jannik Sinner. Oh, that's a huge forehand from Tomas Machac. He can hit that from anywhere. He literally can hit it from anywhere. I'm not quite sure why Jannik Sinner's a little bit on the back foot, goes into the forehand side of Machac, and Machac just lets loose, crunches a forehand down the line, paints the left sideline. And Jannik Sinner then follows it up in the next point with a good serve, but an unusual miss to follow up a good first serve. Just around the service line, pretty simple approach shot. You'd back him to make that 99 times out of 100, but puts it in the net. So 15-30 on the Sinner serve. Doesn't want to go down a break in this second set, having really looked after his game and his service game since that early break in the first set. Goes into the body, does Sinner. Now we're into a backhand exchange. Neither player looking to change it up. And now Machac is onto the forehand, and he's just missed a really good opportunity to go up by 2 points in this game and get himself a couple of break points, because he opened up the court so well on the previous forehand, goes into the backhand of Sinner, got Sinner on the stretch, got a forehand slightly higher up the court and hits it into the net tape of the net. So we are at 30 all. Down the tee goes Sinner. Good return from Machac down the middle. Sinner with the forehand now, trying to dominate. He's still got his forehand going high into the backhand of Machac. He's trying to pin Machac back. Doesn't want to let the Czech dominate on his side of the court. But it was back at 50-50, pretty level in that point, and Machac just coming up a little bit on the forehand. Not quite timing it as well, and he goes long with that forehand. So Sinner a little bit relieved, it looked like. It's like when you are playing those big hitters, you feel that, you feel the nerve when they're about to let loose. You just don't know when they're going to let loose with a ground stroke. That's why Sinner was a little bit relieved on that one, because he potentially had given the chance to Machac to really open up the shoulders. But a missed return from Tomas Machac, and Jannik Sinner is back into the lead in this second set. He leads by 6-4 and 3 games to 2. I don't believe there are any of the Karota boys or the Karota gang watching on in Shanghai. They are the fan group that Jannik Sinner has acquired over the years. They're a group that dress up as carrots and sit in the stands for Jannik Sinner. I believe that has sort of come around from the ginger hair of Jannik Sinner. But I think a couple of years ago, they were almost at every tournament that Sinner was playing, every Masters 1000, every Slam. They were a very committed group, and they're now got thousands of followers on Instagram. But yeah, you do see them all over the place. But yeah, on that topic, interesting. I haven't heard too many of Jannik Sinner's fans sort of switching sides after all this sort of controversy happening off court with Sinner. I think for the majority, his fan group is stuck by him. I think that's testament to who he is. I'm a big fan of Jannik Sinner myself, and I fully believe that what went on was a massive mistake from not really Sinner. It wasn't anything to do with him. It was just unfortunate that his physio just completely messed up. And I think Jannik Sinner is completely innocent from my point of view. But in terms of his fans, I believe they fully stay with him, and trust that he's innocent in all this. So yeah, I think he's got a real strong fan base, and that's potentially been able to help him stay on the path that he's been on in the last few weeks and months, being able to try and stick out some of the criticism that he's been having from various parties in the tennis world. So yeah, the people around him, the wider fan base that he has, have probably been pretty important for Jannik. And Tomas Machac again, Mohamed Liani having to have some work to do, as Machac opted to challenge the first serve, but then I think Mohamed Liani maybe advised him to cancel that challenge because it was so far out. So he did so in the end, and we're now tied up at 15-all. 16 forehand unforced errors now from Tomas Machac to only one of Jannik Sinner's unforced errors on the forehand side. So it's not quite firing as well as it has been, I think, is an understatement on the forehand side of Tomas Machac. 30-15 though in this service game. He's holding on just about, it feels like, as he is unleashing once again. Oh my goodness me, it's outrageous. Court coverage from Jannik Sinner is a joke, making Tomas Machac hit one more ball. But those forehands must have been struck at least 120 k's an hour. That was ridiculous. And really nice feel from Machac to finish off the point. Beautifully constructed. 40-15 Machac goes long with the first serve. And now he goes into the body of Sinner. Sinner gets out the way of it nicely, hits a really strong backhand down the middle with some great depth. Machac not quite able to move his feet around that one, I don't think, as much as he would have liked to. Potentially, if he had that back, would want to hit a forehand, but misses the backhand. So 40-30 now into the forehand of Sinner, but clips the net, so he'll line up for another first serve. Don't see too many players sponsored by Yoma anymore, or Joma. I'm not sure how people pronounce it, but Tomas Machac in the Yoma gear and the backwards cap polishes off a nice volley, puts it away, and ties things up at 3 games all. 27 minutes played now in this second set, and we're pretty much halfway through it, I'd say. And that's the thing with both of these players, especially Machac. Games can go in a flash because he can open up the shoulders and hit 4 forehand winners, and the game's done and dusted. And contrary to that, Jannik Sinner could hold serve here. He could play a really solid game and break in the next and be serving it out in a matter of 10, 15 minutes. So as much as I say we're about midway through this second set, it could go by in a flash. The points haven't been too long in this match so far. Both players really putting on an attacking performance. And Jannik Sinner, of course, it doesn't quite have the firepower that Machac possesses on the forehand side, but across the board has unbelievable firepower from every area of the court. That's something that is shown in his insights on shot quality. He's on the leaderboard in the top 10 for pretty much every shot. Of course, he's the world number one. That's probably not too much of a surprise, but he's really I think he's top in the backhand side shot quality. I think he's up in the 8s, up higher in the 8.5 or 6, I believe. But it's also a testament to Machac because he's sitting at world number 33, but he's able to get into the top 10 of the shot quality list on the forehand side. So pretty impressive from the Czech. 30 love Sinner now into an exchange from the baseline. Both players going forehand to forehand, looking to beat the other just on the forehand, but Sinner trying to take out a leaf of Mahac's book and go huge from a couple of meters from behind the baseline. So potentially wasn't quite the right shot choice as his coaches look on. I don't think they'll be too pleased with that one. But nonetheless, they urge him on. 30-15 Sinner now. 3 games all in this second set. Remember, a set to good is Jannik Sinner as he goes wide into the backhand of Tomas Machac and then goes into the forehand of Machac, which doesn't pay off because Machac hits a delightful little one down the line, gets Sinner running, and Machac finishes off the point at the net with a smash. So 30 all. Another game for Sinner to be up, but back now at 30 all. So he's got to be careful now. Machac is a dangerous player, whatever the score, because he can come out with these incredible shots. Netted is the first serve from Sinner. A real chance for Machac now. 30 all, second serve. And he takes the chance by the scruff of the neck. He follows the backhand return into the net, which you don't see all too often. And Sinner is able to somehow get himself out of the point, having won it, because it was a brilliant half volley from Tomas Machac after the backhand return. He tries to cover the net as well as he could, but Sinner holds his ground really well and just slots a backhand past Machac. So game point, Sinner. Again, another first serve netted. Not finding too many first serves this game. Oh, goes huge, does Sinner with the second serve. Goes really big down the tee, and Machac just not quite able to deal with it because I think he was expecting a regular Sinner second serve. So catching Machac off guard was Sinner. And he goes into the break. Remaining in the lead, Jannik Sinner up a set and 4 games to 3 now. Interesting to hear everyone's thoughts on Nadal's calling time on his career. Of course, his announcement coming just a couple of days ago, but yeah, as much as we all knew it was coming, it was still a shock when it came because these guys, and when I say these guys, they have this ability, Djokovic, Federer, Nadal, Murray, they have this ability to be able to make you think that they're just going to continue playing forever. And it's really weird. And maybe that's because they've been in our lives. I mean, they've been in my life for so long now, for as long as I can remember, that you just don't think it's going to end. And then when it does come, it's like, no, surely not. And then it comes a point when they do stop playing. We've seen it with Federer a couple of years ago, the Laver Cup. And then Andy Murray, post-Olympics. It's been, it's been weird not having them around and not seeing them on court. But yeah, nonetheless, it's sad. You know, Nadal's been such a demonstration of how hard work gets you so much success. And when you match that with his talent and his ability on a tennis court, it brings about records that will never be broken again. 14 Grand Slams at Roland Garros alone. I mean, that's a joke. Some careers don't even last as long as 14 years, and he's won 14 French Opens. I mean, absolutely ridiculous stats. And whilst he's done all of that, he's remained the most humble of guys. We've seen stories come out over the last few days of people's interactions with him at tournaments, with sort of watchers on when he's been around at tournaments, and how much of a great guy he's been. No matter win, lose, post match, pre match, you know, he's been someone who's stayed so true to himself and has been respectful. So you can't really think of a better guy than Rafael Nadal. Not too many have bad words to say about him, if any, I don't think. So yeah, and his fiercest rivals, Novak Djokovic, saying such nice words about him. I believe Djokovic will be going to the Davis Cup now for sure to sort of say his goodbyes to Nadal. So yeah, I think the reaction says it all about Nadal. And yeah, it's almost like we're getting accustomed to these big retirements now, having had Federer and Murray in the last, couple of years. Yeah, it's weird, but I think it's only right that the tennis world pays their respects to the greats of the game, like it has been doing. So credit to the tennis world for showing how much that these guys have meant to the sport and how much they've grown it. And now it's over to Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner to take the reins if they haven't done already. But first, Sinner has to focus on this match at hand. Tomas Machac is the man looking to try and topple the world number one for his first Masters final. And we're tied up at 4 games all. This is the point where Jannik Sinner broke in the first set. So it's now Jannik Sinner serving in this one. Can Machac return what Sinner had done to him in the first set in this match? So far this set, Sinner's been able to fight off any real worries from the return of Machac, but needs to continue it here. 4 games all in this second set. Down the tee goes Sinner. Now both from the baseline. Sinner pushing Machac out wide well, but I think he just goes too much on the forehand inside out, but I think he will challenge it. It's called wide. So currently Machac has won this point. He goes love 15. Or does he? Yes, he does, because the ball is confirmed wide. So love 15 now. Just want to get confirmation of that score when it comes up on the scoreboard. Oh, they're replaying the point. How strange. I'm not sure why they're replaying the point. Maybe that Hawkeye showing on the screen was just for the viewer and not on court. So interesting. Of course, they've got line judges here. So the challenge system is in play. They're not going by the electronic line calling system where it sort of calls automatically and there's no confusion. So rightly so, Machac follows up and wins that point, as he should have done the first time around. So has to get it done twice in a row and just gets the 1 point. But love 15 now on Sinner's serve. Into the net goes Sinner. Second serve for Machac to look at now. Wide, kick wide from Sinner. Gets Machac on the stretch. Really, really nice. Goes back behind and then has a lot of space to hit into. And Jannik Sinner does just that with a nice forehand put away. Beautifully done there from Jannik Sinner. Fabulous second serve. Kicking right up in high into Machac, and really nice pattern of play there, going back behind Machac, really getting his movement, testing his movement. T goes Sinner, and an unreturnable it is. Good serving from the world number one. It's interesting, when I was commentating on his second round against Echeverry, both players were going wide a lot. Very rare to see them going up the tee. And I don't know if that was sort of tactics based, if it was feeling based on how they were hitting that serve that day. But it's definitely been different today. A lot of heavier, harder serves going flat down the tee, as both now are in a backhand exchange. But Machac is first to falter. He looks to try and step up the court a little bit more on that final shot and take it on, but goes and hits the top of the net. So Sinner having a solid game after losing the first point. He's now 40-15 up. Sinner holding his own really well here, staying really solid. You feel that that's been sort of a pattern of this match. If Sinner's able to stay solid and hit a quality trading ball from the back of the line, from the back of the baseline, more often than not, he's going to win a lot of the points. And that's been certainly the case today. But on the odd occasion, Tomas Machac will come out with a huge winner from the baseline. On that return, he did not hold back. Jeez. That was big. Sinner almost falling over on that 150 kilometer an hour return forehand. Wouldn't want that to get in the way of someone. That would hurt. So Sinner at 40-30, just misses the first serve long. You don't think that Machac is going to go this big again, but let's see. Doesn't need to, because the amount of pressure that Machac had put on Sinner because of the previous return meant that Sinner tried to go big. He didn't want to face a return from Machac. So credit to Machac for giving Sinner something else to think about here. Juice. Sinner's got some work to do. Wide goes Sinner with the serve. Brilliant return from Machac, goes deep. And that is a perfect point from Tomas Machac. The return polishes the baseline. Sinner has to react and hits a forehand mid-court, and Machac just doesn't take a step backwards, continues, follows it up, and sits on the backhand and hits an inside-out backhand that is unable to be retrieved by Jannik Sinner, and he's got himself a break point here. Sinner goes wide with the serve. Somehow Machac gets it back, but Sinner again goes back behind, and I thought that Sinner had missed an opportunity there to go down the line and to hit a winner, but he goes cross-court. Machac has an opportunity, but Sinner was just good enough on the angle. This match really could go either way now. Machac isn't far off from playing some much better tennis. Wide from Sinner, goes into the space in the backhand, potentially looks to ghost in, but doesn't, opts to not ghost in, and now he's under the cosh because Machac is sitting on his forehand. Now he's got a mid-court smash, and somehow Sinner finds that smash and gets it back into court, but Machac is there and follows up almost on top of the net and hits a backhand volley winner. He's got another break point now. We're just seeing a replay sort of from the bird's eye view, and you could just see how far back Sinner was retrieving that smash. He was almost in the stands. So another break point for Jannik Sinner to save. Machac looking ready, looking concentrated, looking up for this point. Goes wide, Sinner, brilliant serve. Now he's got the space down the line, and then he hits into it. Unlike the previous point when he goes back behind, he's now found the space and hits a forehand winner down the line. that's certainly been a play that Sinner has been going to a lot. He's now sort of urging the ball kids to kind of hurry up because he knows that if he goes longer than the shot clock states, then he's going to get penalized for it. The ball kids won't. So he's just ushering them along, asking them to hurry up a little bit. Wide goes Sinner. Now he's opened up the court again and goes down the line in an almost exact replica of the previous point, just on the other side. He goes wide to the Machac return and then plays into the open space. And that's exactly what I was just about to mention, is that that's been a pattern that Sinner has been going to a fair bit in the last few games. Sort of taken the racket out of the Czech's hand. Now, game point Sinner goes wide into the backhand, now opens up the court, but it's not as simple of a forehand because the return was a better one from Machac. But now Machac goes forehand, unforced error, and Sinner is urging himself. Come on, he says. He's pumped with that game because that was really vital. And I do think that will make him really dial in for this next game, because he was very close to going a break down there and trying to recover a break, because Machac was very close to going into the changeover and coming back out, serving for the set. Really well done from Jannik Sinner. Mentally so tough, isn't he? I mean, that's been obvious all year, and especially in recent weeks, how mature Jannik Sinner is, I would say, in terms of just how tough mentally he is, how he's able to deal with so much. I think we first saw it in Australia, 2-0 down in his first Grand Slam final, and then comes back to win it against Daniil Medvedev, and he's continued to show that throughout the year, and recently, with all the stuff that's going on off court, being criticized so much by various stakeholders in the tennis world, and he's continued to put performance after performance on court, and his results really haven't faltered at all, given everything that's going on, and that is a huge achievement in itself. So Tomas Machac serving at 4-5 in this second set. Of course, first set Sinner 6-4. Machac has had his chances. He went a break up in that first set, wasn't able to capitalize. Sinner broke back fairly early on. And now Sinner will be looking to try and clinch this match in this game. And that's the perfect start for Jannik Sinner. He was on top of that point in a rash and finishes with a flat forehand cross court, taking Machac completely by surprise. And it was big because it was 152 kilometers an hour. And now Machac is just, I think, heading to the chair to change his racket, because I think he's just pointing that he's, I think, cracked his racket, or I'm not sure. He's just asked Sinner to come over and look at his racket, which seemed like a weird thing to do. And Sinner comes over to the net too and has a look, but yeah, strange. I'm not sure why he was showing Sinner. It'd be interesting to get a shot of that if we can. But Machac does change his racket, and now he's just apologizing to Sinner for the delay, and we're back ready to go again after that short delay. Love 15. Sinner 3 points away now. Machac goes T and is called deep. And now Machac is challenging the call because he thinks it was good. He thinks it's caught the line. And he's correct indeed. So we will replay the point because Sinner made the return. If Sinner had missed the return and hadn't been affected by the call, it would have been Mahac's point. But instead, Machac is going to replay the point, starting with the first serve. And he goes long still. So despite the few seconds delay and the challenge, he's looking at a second serve nonetheless. Into the body of Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner runs round and hits a forehand. He'll be looking to continue to dominate. But that's poor footwork from Jannik Sinner. He doesn't move his feet. Tries to take that forehand sort of on the rise. And now we're just looking at the Machac racket that he was so adamant that he couldn't play with, that there was something wrong. I'm not too sure, again, what was wrong there. It must be a crack or of some sort. Machac goes down the tee and gets a pretty simple smash up in the forecourt and puts it away. So 30-15 Machac. Sinner wasn't too far away. So 30-15. Machac goes long with the first. Excuse me. And certainly not the tennis that's making me on. And now we're into the baseline exchange. Sinner unable to make anything of that pass. So Machac continuing to be successful coming forward. And to me, he started to make a few more balls, Machac. He started to make a few more better decisions on the forehand side. I think he's cutting down the errors, especially on the forehand side. You know, he was up at 16 unforced errors just on the forehand side midway through this second set. And that's too high, especially when Sinners is down at 1 error, you know. So he's definitely doing a better job of that. And I think that's why he's starting to see some more success in terms of points on board. So 5 games all now in this second set. Sinner missed an opportunity after going up a point to the good in that previous game, but he's got to get back to basics now again. 5 games all. He's got to hold his serve. Looks like this is heading to a tiebreak, this second set, but we shall see. Sinner won't want it to. He'll want to get it done in this next couple of games. But that's poor from Machac. Just going really big with that backhand down the line. Yeah, I don't think that was quite on, if I'm honest. I think just trade it a little bit longer. Wait till you get on your forehand, the one that you love so much for Machac. Sinner nearly got in the way of that one. He had a brilliant first serve out wide. Machac just catching the backhand almost too well. So it flew long, but almost hit Sinner on the way through. And if that had hit Sinner, it would have been Mahac's point, because if it hits your opponent before it lands, then the point goes to you. Not a tactic you'd want to try and implement too often, if at all. But if it happens, then luck is certainly on your side. But a good point from Sinner to back that up. Good serve down the tee and followed up by a nice drive volley into the space onto the backhand side. So 40 love, very, very good game from Jannik Sinner to back up the previous game when he potentially had some chances to finish off this match, but very closely back into the lead. And now he is back into the lead. Ace down tee, 6-5 Sinner. So Sinner will come back out and try and get his second break, his third break of the match, which would mean another final appearance for the world number 1 at a Masters 1000 level. But it is crazy, isn't it, how Tomas Machac is 33 in the world. He's seeded 30th here. He's taken out Davidovich, Fokina. Again, okay, fair enough. Probably on paper should win that. Again, second round, Alexander Vukic. A match that Machac should win. But then the next couple of matches takes out Tommy Paul 3-6, 6-4, 6-3 in round 3 in Shanghai a few days ago. Post that match, Tommy Paul was just saying how it's as if Machac is a top 10 player for sure. You know, he said in the handshake to Machac, well, you know, sort of well played, mate, go and win this tournament. And Machac sort of laughed off and said, I'll try. But maybe secretly Machac was thinking, yeah, I could give this a real shot. I'm playing the best tennis of my life. Why not? And that's exactly what was on track to do, because the next match in the quarterfinal, he took out the world number 2, Carlos Alcaraz, 7-6, 7-5. And then maybe he really was starting to think, I could do this, you know. Alcaraz is beating Sinner a handful of times. I've now taken out Alcaraz. Why couldn't I take out Sinner? But the world number 1 is proving to be a really, really tough test, even for Machac this week. But Machac is continuing to trust his game, because another forehand winner takes him up 15-love in this game. And that's really nice, because it's not a bad shot from Sinner. He just goes cross court in what was a very fine trading forehand. But Machac just sees it off and dispatches it like with ease. It's just incredible. And Machac, that's really, really nice, because Machac goes kick into the backhand of Sinner. Sinner is standing so far back, and Machac sees that and capitalizes on the next point, on the next shot, because he comes in really nicely disguised and puts away a little half drop volley there. So net points won, so impressive. 12 out of 13. Really, really good stuff from Machac. But he just goes a little bit too big with that next forehand. So fine margins here. 30-15 now. Machac serving at 5-6 and a set down. Really tight moments, because he's just a few points away from losing this match, but he's also a couple of points away from taking us into a second set tiebreak, and then could potentially be leveling up this match. But a double fault means that a nerve starting to creep in to the Machac mind. Is he finally starting to falter on the big points? He hasn't done so at all this week. He's been faultless in tiebreaks against Alcaraz. But it's now 30-all, but he goes big down the tee. It's a good serve. It's a good response from Jannik Sinner. Now, who's going to dial in to this point? Who's going to be the first to make an error? Not Machac just yet, but now he is the first to make an error, because he goes big with the forehand, tries to take Sinner out of the court into the forehand side of Sinner, but he goes wide. And it does mean that it presents a first match point for Jannik Sinner to get himself into another Masters 1000 final here in Shanghai. It would be his first in Shanghai, I believe. He'd be taking out the in-form Machac this week. Mahac's serve just tops the net and goes wide. So Sinner will have a second serve now to look at. He stays up inside the baseline almost, and it's a brilliant first serve from Machac, but it's an even better return from Sinner. Takes Machac out wide, and now we're pretty much into a level exchange from backhand to backhand. Neither player willing to give up any space. Forehand of Sinner now into the forehand of Machac. That's potentially dangerous, but now Mahac's forehand, it goes into the forehand of Sinner, and Sinner's got a very simple put away, which he should put away, and does. Jannik Sinner takes out the in-form Tomas Machac, the world number 1, with an emphatic performance. And that really, really was emphatic, because Machac is in the form of his life. He took out Carlos Alcaraz in the previous round. He's having the best tournament of his career. But Jannik Sinner, as he says, thank you to the crowd. for watching on and supporting him in that final. Excuse me, final. Really, really strong display from the world number one, continuing to put aside off-court problems and continuing to focus on court and get it done. You know, he's been so good at that in the latter stages of this year. The US Open champion, the Australian Open champion, through to yet another final. He made the final in Beijing last week. He's now into the final in Shanghai. What a few weeks it's been for the world number one. Of course, he is confirmed as the world number one until the end of the year. He will go into 2025 at the top of the rankings. He's the one that everyone is looking to try and beat, and that will stay the same next year. But what a week it's been for Tomas Machac. He'll no doubt move into the top 30 in the world. And it's interesting because, you know, when the likes of Sinner and especially Alcaraz came onto the tour and were winning time and time again, it felt like the tour and the other players were taking notes from how they were doing it. And for me, the Alcaraz drop shot was something that the tour then recognizes, you know what, that's a shot that has real damage and can be really important in winning matches. And you know what? People would be looking, other players will be looking at the rise of Tomas Machac, and they'll be seeing how important and how damaging his forehand is being. But that, along mixed with the ability to finish at the net and have the court coverage at the net that Machac does, I think other players will be looking to take notes and try and implement more net game into their games, because it's been so effective. Yes, it might not have been enough to beat Sinner today, but I think Machac was probably down at 70% of his 80% of his best today. And that's the reality of tennis. Most of the time, you're not going to be playing your very best. And that's where Machac might need to improve going forward. Can he beat the best of the best when he's not playing his best with the forehands, you know, winner after winner? That's where Machac can look to improve going forward. But Jannik Sinner certainly has things covered. He knows how to win when he's not playing his best. And he's through to another Shanghai Masters 1000 final. Guys, thanks so much for joining me. It's been, it's been real fun today. And hopefully see you very soon. I'm not sure if I'll be back on for the final. I very much hope I will be. But enjoy, and fingers crossed you can tune in for the Novak Djokovic Taylor Fritz match to follow. Anyway, thanks a lot, and see you soon.
soon.